All right, good morning, everyone. Day 3, yay! Almost there. So this session is DevNet Lightning Talk 1355, automating cyber hygiene operations with SecureX and Kenna Security. And my name is Oxana Sannikove. I am Security Programmability Lead on Global Security Architecture team. My specialty on the team is security APIs, automation, and orchestration. I've been with Cisco for 14 years. In this current role, 4 last years, and before that I was doing general security. Before Cisco, I was part of network monitoring and automation team in the service provider. So I was kind of doing that for, for a while. Before we start, general reminder, please join the WebEx space. You can ask questions after the session, of course, and based on conversations and your questions, I may be sharing additional resources and some general information that I will prepare for all of my sessions after this event. So definitely join the team space. And just to kind of set the stage before we get into the specific use case we will be looking at. I am leading the security programmability team, which is the team of experts in automation. They talk to customers, we run automation workshops, we validate customer use cases for automation, and then we create MVP requirements, we create proof of concepts for them, test them, and after that, we either hand it to customer to deploy or to partner to CX or to get it deployed in production. So we talk to customers pretty much on a daily basis, and there are certain big themes that we see. All customers have expectations around automation. I really don't know how else you can get around right now with skills shortage and alert fatigue and plethora of tools that we have to deal with every day, and high expectations of leadership, right? So it's very hard to keep being manual. And then with that, at the same time, looking at threat hunting survey from SANS from 2021, they were saying that 51% of the companies are still doing threat hunting activities manually. So that was, for me, it was really mind-blowing. I was like, wow, 51%, it's still too high. But I think in the next, last year threat hunting survey, the number went lower. So more people start using automation for their regular threat hunting activities. So in general, when we talk to customers, they either share expectations or they share some successful use cases they were able already to accomplish, or they share some things the specific use cases that they want to automate. And in general, we see 4 main big themes, and cyber hygiene is being one of them. And then with that being seen, again, going back to threat hunting, a survey from SANS from this year, interestingly, more and more vulnerability management tools start being used for threat hunting. So companies start using vulnerability tools for threat hunting because vulnerabilities are being so often exploited, right, to enter into organization. And so the mindset shifts a little bit to see if we can identify the most vulnerable points first and consider that already as a threat, right? That we have those vulnerable systems up front, like facing the internet, DMZ and stuff like that. And that vulnerable system potentially it could be the entry point, and this is how we kind of build our hypothesis that we need to protect them first. Anyway, 2 years ago, Cisco has acquired Kenna Security, which is the risk-based vulnerability management platform, which takes global threat intelligence data and sensors data, so the context from enterprise sensors, and then it applies different technologies like machine learning, their patented analysis technologies such as natural language processing and risk prediction techniques and other things, and then it allows to prioritize the vulnerabilities more efficiently than if you would look at just CVS CVSS scores, for example. It allows to achieve 85% efficiency, with the average organization goal being 80%, with 50% less effort. So you get to remediate less vulnerabilities, but you actually become more secure. So that's kind of like, in a simple way, what I just said. Because they prioritize vulnerabilities that you really need to address first, right? And then you kind of reduce the footprint of things that you really have to take actions on, but at the same time, this overall improves your organization posture much better. So the example we will look at today is how we can use Kenna intelligence and Kenna knowledge to enrich data on security events that we see in our organization. So imagine that you are a security analyst and it's Friday afternoon and you're about to head home, and a threat detection events come in from your EDR system. How often does it happen that something happens on the Friday afternoon all the time? When my husband was working in operations, it was constantly the case. And like, that was just making me so mad that every Friday something happened, and he had to address it. Anyway, your CISO is calling you and asking you to answer the question, are we impacted? Do we care about this event or not? And you have to really be quick to do it because you want to head out for your weekend. So we will look at this automation workflow. The first thing we do is we look at a Cisco Secure Endpoint event about threat detected on one of the critical endpoints in our organization. It could be CISO's laptop as well. And then the next thing, we take observables from this event, such as what is the file hash of that malware, endpoint data, stuff like that. And then we reach out to Kenna and we check for this specific malware, does Kenna know about any existing vulnerabilities? What are those vulnerabilities that this malware can exploit? What are the risk scores? And we automatically enrich the original event with that information. We include necessary links to pivot back to the tool as needed, and that's what we essentially do. So we bring that data back to the analyst even before the analyst opens the case, pretty much. And after that, we can do some remediation actions that we will discuss at the end of the demo as well. So with that, I'll just move to the demo. So here we're looking at SecureX incident. This incident was created via the API using SecureX private intelligence APIs from EDR event. So it could, in this case, obviously, this event was from Cisco Secure Endpoint, but could be like any other ADR system, right? We're just using a workflow to pull those events and then create the incident in SecureX. So within that incident, you can see we have observables that are structured. You see the file hashes, you see the endpoint that was impacted. All of the data is presented here in the structured way. And then we can also see the timeline of that incident, add additional information, assign that incident to the analyst automatically, and so on. So then we are going to kick up this workflow. This is the orchestration, built-in orchestration within SecureX. You see it's a drag and drop interface. We have more than 400 pre-built activities and this like use case-based workflows that you can just drag and drop and either use pre-built ones or make your own. And here you can either, if you want, you can use Python code because it has Python adapter, but you don't have to. Basically, you just pre-configure any parameters on this side for each activity, and then you put some logic around it, and it just works. And so here we are reaching out to Kenna API, and then we do some data massaging, right? We pull data about vulnerabilities. We see if there are any related to this specific malware that are highly critical, that allow for remote code execution and things like that. And then after that, we add this information to original event. And we have link here to pivot back to the specific asset in Kenna. And we can see that we added information that this asset has vulnerability associated with ongoing incident. And then as we look at this vulnerability, we can see that it has 100 risk score, which is the highest Kenna risk score. And CVSS 2 is 9. But look how many other vulnerabilities we have with this CVSS score. So what's really key here to understand is, does this vulnerability have active breaches happening out in the wild? Is it easily exploitable? Is it a popular target? Does it allow for remote code execution? Is it being used in active attack for the past 6 months? So this is the information that will really help you to understand. And that's what Kenna is doing, but using that threat intel and analyzing it and then putting those criteria for you. So even a junior analyst can look at it and say, well, yeah, this is a critical vulnerability, and we have a malware found that is leveraging it. So potentially, I'm not going on my weekend, right? I am going to investigate it further. We do certainly care about this. What Kenna also gives you, it gives you information about the fixes, how you can fix that vulnerability with the links. It gives you information about known exploits and the file hashes of the known malware that can leverage this vulnerability. And then next, what we are going to do, we are going to grab this vulnerability ID. We'll just grab that CV ID and we'll just do a search. We could do it via the API as well, but then the demo would be very short, right? Boom, done. And so we can see that there is another asset that also has this vulnerability. So it kind of expands our scope a little bit here. So potentially, as we do this activity, we may address other endpoints which hasn't popped up in the original event, right? So that helps us to broaden the scope of what potentially could be an impact of this attack to our organization. So next, what we can do is we can grab this ID, GUID ID from this endpoint, and we could quarantine this endpoint by moving it to another policy group in Cisco Secure Endpoint. We could block this with firewall. We could quarantine it with ICE using orchestration custom actions, right? We could isolate this endpoint. We could find the user associated with this endpoint and disable that user in Duo MFA so the user cannot log into cloud applications, for example. And you can combine all of these actions in one click. You can have just like disable all, one-click action that is going to be at the back end done by the workflow. So my point here is this is a very flexible tool which allows you to really find what fits your organization and put it the way you really want it. If you want approval actions, you can have them. You want your approval actions to pop up in your chat messenger, you can do it. You want them to pop up in an email, you can do it. You want to approve within SecureX, you can do it. You want to approve in ServiceNow with approval tasks, you can do it. You can want to use Jira, you can do it. So basically anything that speaks API is possible with this tool, and Orchestrator is a built-in component of SecureX. And if you're using Cisco Security technologies, it's embedded. So it comes at no cost with your Cisco technologies that you're already leveraging. And basically the main point here is SecureX allows you to bring that extended detection and response experience into your SOC operations. It also covers IT and network operations use cases because it's a general, very flexible general orchestration tool. We have dozens integrations with Cisco and third-party vendors as well. So my call to action is go to security.cisco.com. If you're not using SecureX yet, create yourself an account, choose your region, provide information about your product, right, to get that entitlement, and then click on enable. So it's pretty much almost like 3-click steps. to get yourself a SecureX org. So with that, I would like to close, just reminding you that please complete your surveys. I know we're day 3, we're kind of tired of doing surveys, but they are very important for our leadership and for us as well. If you want to have follow-up conversation, please include your email in the survey. Please provide comments. We really want to hear what you think. It will help us to bring more interesting use cases to next events. And yeah, just a reminder, for our leadership, 5 means good, everything else means not good. And then I do want to encourage everyone, because as an engineers, we learn better from doing. Explore hands-on walking labs, explore CTF sessions, go to the workshops, really get that hands-on exposure to different technologies here at Cisco Live. We have a DevNet Security CTF mission, which is super simple, and you get lots of points. If you're aiming for the coin, please go back to CTF and complete that mission as well. So with that, I want to thank you for attending, and I will be happy to answer your questions.